Today's project is totally beginner friendly. I'm Lisa with Ivy Lane Interiors, and today's project is a small nightstand. I'm going to walk you through the whole process. How do you determine if it needs to be completely refinished? Can I just refinish part of it? What kind of products do I use? This is a great beginner project because it's small. And so I always tell people when you're going to start small. And so this is a great one to just walk you through the whole process of how I assess a piece and what I actually do to refinish it, and then what you could potentially make profit-wise at the end. So, let's go.
Here's the little nightstand that we're going to work on today. Has some damage on the top, but I'm going to go through the entire process of how I evaluate all of this and determine, am I going to strip the whole thing? Can I do a gentle restoration? What are the steps involved?
Let me walk you through my process. So I typically, if I think I'm going to refinish it, I don't necessarily clean it right away. I just really try to assess everything. So I see there's all of this stuff on top where the finish is actually failing. So you can see in the light there's a lot of issues here on the top. Now, this is something that I think if there was just like a little bit here, I might try to cover that with gel stain, but there's quite a bit on the top. So to me, I feel like the top needs to be refinished because I can actually feel there's some scratches there. So to me, the top needs to be stripped, okay? If I come down here, I can see this is a mid-century modern style, and this is not a mid-century modern pull. So I don't think the pull is original, especially because it doesn't match the dresser that came with it. The drawer is in good shape. So I just kind of take things out as I'm looking at it. This drawer looks like it's in good shape. It comes from, there's like a little handle, a little lip underneath there. That's how you pull it out. Now this drawer does have some damage on it. So you can see there's some pretty good scratching on that. So I don't know that that can be smoothed out. That might also need to be refinished as well. Let's look at the sides. So this side looks really good. This could easily be covered with some gel stain, I think, no problem. Again, the legs, I think those could be covered with gel stain as well. Let's check out this side. This side also looks really good. I've got just a tiny bit of something there. Let me turn this around so you can see in the light. So here we go, this side. It's looking really good. Got a little bit of something right there, but it could be covered with gel stain. So when you're trying to decide how to flip a piece, you have to kind of look at it in reverse. So you have to think, okay, what brand is this? If you're gonna sell it, how much can I sell this for? That, if you're looking at it from the end going forward, it's a better perspective because you don't want to put too much work into something that you cannot get a return on your investment. Now, if it's something you're just keeping for yourself, well, it doesn't matter how much time or money you put in it. If you love it, it doesn't matter. But if you are simply flipping it, you really have to think in reverse. So that's why when I first look for pieces, I'm always gonna try to look for something that is in high demand. You want something with a maker's mark. You want something that's high quality. In the very beginning, I used to buy things that just were honestly crap, you know? They needed way too much work. There was no maker's mark. And so I was putting all this work into things, and I mean, cutting off bases and blah, 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 and just doing all these repairs. And I just, I'm making just a few $100s. And so now I pick higher end pieces that don't need as much work. I might pay just a little bit more, but my profit margin is so much greater because it's a more in demand piece. So again, this is a little nightstand. It does have a maker's mark. It's a Dixie. What's the most I can sell this for if I was selling it? Single nightstands are very difficult to sell. I don't think I could probably get more than maybe $250. I mean, the most I've sold a nightstand for technically was $500, but that was a larger one. Most of them I sell for about $300 a piece, but that's usually when it's with a pair. And so a single nightstand like this, I don't know, maybe 150. And so, you know, I bought it with another dresser. So I would say I probably paid about $50 for it. So, you know, that's about a very big profit margin. So, nightstands are good to start with, but you want to move on to dressers because they have a larger profit margin. But this is a good beginner project, so let's stick with it. So how much can you sell it for? That will help you determine what you're going to do to it. So it's definitely, you can definitely refinish this one to wood. I don't think it needs a full refinish. And so to me, gel stain is one of your best friends because it sets on top of the surface. You can go over an existing finish and it just kind of blends things out. So I think on this one, I'm gonna strip the top down. You could either strip it, if there's no like carvings or anything on it. So I think you could use a carbide scraper. I think you could use a stripper if you want, but I think I'm gonna start with my carbide scraper because I don't wanna get any stripping. You could tape it off, but I don't wanna get any stripper on the sides. And so that one drawer might need a little bit of help, but I have a secret formula that I'll share with you that so you can match your woods. So let's start by just stripping the top. Here we go. I've got people re-roofing, so you'll have to excuse the noise, but here's the carbide scraper. There's a screw right here. You can take it out. You can actually flip the blade over and continue using it. And then once you're done there, then you need to grab some kind of a stone or some kind of a sharpener. You take the blade out, you sharpen it. I do this after every time I use it. That way I make sure my blade is really sharp because otherwise you're gonna gouge the wood. Here's how I use it. I like to go off it. You have to be really careful though. You have to be really careful here at the edges that you don't grab some of the veneer and pull it off. So I'm just gonna start. You don't want it to tilt, because if you tilt it, then you're gonna gouge your wood. So I like to put my hand here. I kind of have to brace it so it doesn't move on me. And you're just going to pull back. So you see that is taking all of that off, and I'm going all the way down to raw. And then I'm just gonna kind of come off the edge here. Can you see that? Kind of an awkward angle. I'm not real concerned with the edge because the edges are really fragile. So if I don't get the edge right away, I'm not super concerned with it. But you can see I'm getting the white is like the top coat, and I'm getting all the way down to raw. So I'm just gonna keep going, and this is gonna get me all the way to raw really quick.
For this section, I'm going to try a little pocket scraper that I'm going to use just to get these edges. I'm going to be really careful because sometimes the veneer on the edges is very fragile. You can see where the shine is. I still have finish left, so that needs to either be sanded off or scraped off.
Under 10 minutes and I've got the top scraped. It's not 100% off, but I can get the rest with my sander. So I'm ready to start sanding. I'm going to use 80 grit. So I like to use 80 grit whenever there is a finish left. And so I like these. These are 3Ms. They work really well with my sander, but I'm just going to use it on some hand sanding little pads and show you. You don't need anything fancy. You can get a fancy sander, but surprisingly, if you're willing to put the work in, and it doesn't hurt your hands or your arms, you can do a hand sanding too. So yes, you can do a sander, but obviously sanding also creates swirls. And so sometimes you create work for yourself by sanding either incorrectly or if your sander is not very good. So sometimes hand sanding can just be even quicker, especially in a small piece like this. So you can see I'm just kind of going over all of these areas. I'm trying to get to raw. So a lot of people ask me, well, what does it mean when you go to raw? It means that I'm trying to get everything uniform. I don't want to see any kind of shine. I don't want to have all of this variation. I want it to be very light and very uniform in color. Because the problem is, if you try to restain over something that's not fully sanded, then it's gonna look splotchy and it won't look good. So see, there's like a little bit right there. That's not, I still got finish there, so I gotta get that off. I want it to be as uniform as possible. So I'm about 20 minutes in and I've got it completely stripped down and I've got the 80 grit. Now all I have to do is the 120 and the 180. But that was pretty quick. That was even trying to pause and walk everybody through it. So it goes pretty fast.
Once the finish is removed with the 80 grit, really the 120 and the 180 go very quickly because all I'm doing is refining my scratch pattern. I like to give it a really good clean afterwards with a 50-50 mixture of denatured alcohol and water. I'm checking for any kind of areas that still might need to be sanded. The technique I'm using on the body is General Finishes. It's their toning method, and you can apply gel stain over an existing finish. They recommend you cleaning the piece with a 50-50 mixture of denatured alcohol and water, sanding at 150 or 180. I personally like to start with 180 because I really don't want to break the finish. If I need to go a little bit coarser, like if I have those areas that I had a few scratches, I will go down a little bit deeper with 150. But I try to stay with 180 if possible. Basically with this, you're just trying to knock off the shine. You're etching up the surface a little bit so that it will accept the gel stain. Make sure you sand with the direction of the grain. So the top drawer had the grain going vertical. So just make sure that I'm going to follow the wood grain, and then the other two drawers were horizontal. I'm going to go ahead and come back and clean everything off with that 50-50 mixture of denatured alcohol and water. If I have any areas that have extra curves or carvings, I will go ahead and shoot it with a little bit of liquid sandpaper, but this style is very straightforward. I didn't have any extra carvings. So in this particular case, I decided to clean after I did all of my sanding. I'll go ahead and get everything vacuumed out, and then I'm cleaning the inside with a degreaser. Now I'm ready to start toning the piece with gel stain. I'm using General Finishes in the color Nutmeg. I find that it goes over really well with some of these mid-century modern pieces. So I like to use Nutmeg on the areas that I'm just toning. And then on the top, I'm going to use a 50-50 mixture of nutmeg with antique walnut. So sometimes I like to start light, and then if I need to darken it, I can, but I'm going to start with the nutmeg, see if that's going to give me the tone that I want, and then I'll pause and evaluate it, and I might go in and add a little bit more of the darker with the antique walnut. Gel stain is really easy to apply. You just simply wipe it on and you wipe it off. You can use a variety of applicators. You can use a foam brush, you can use a chip brush, you can use a stain pad. You can just simply use like these blue lint-free paper towels. So whatever your preferred method is, if you wanted to go on a little bit thicker, I recommend a stain pad or a foam brush. For the top, since it's down to raw, I'm going to use some mineral spirits as a little bit of a preconditioner. It'll help the gel stain kind of slide over the surface. So again, I'm using a 50-50 mixture of antique walnut and nutmeg. That should help blend in with the rest of the body. Gel stain is recommended that you put it on and you're really kind of rubbing it against the grain at first. You want to make sure that it really gets in there, and then you wipe off the excess going with the grain. With gel stain, I find at the end, after I'm done, I just go back over the piece and make sure I haven't missed anywhere, because you want to make sure you don't have any drips or anything like that. Now on this piece, I actually felt that the sides needed to go a little bit darker. So I'm going to use that 50-50 mixture that I was using with the nutmeg and the antique walnut. And I'm going to go ahead and add that to the sides as well. That's the nice thing with the gel stains is you can mix them. You can do different ratios, kind of experiment. I like to just kind of try new things. I had a little area on the side that wasn't accepting the gel stain as well. So here's my little tip. I like to use 2 chip brushes. With one chip brush, I lightly apply the gel stain. It's kind of mimic wood grain. And then I'm going to just brush back over it with a dry chip brush. And that's just going to help distribute that gel stain and just kind of help blend it into the surrounding area. After it's dried overnight, I'm ready to go ahead and seal it. I am using Ozma's Polyex Hard Wax Oil. I like to apply it with a white abrasive. It depends on what applicator you're using with how much you're laying down. So a roller will actually lay down more product and give you a more durable surface. So I like to do at least 3 coats, usually on the top on a high traffic area, and then I'll usually do 2 coats on the sides and the drawers and the legs. This is the same type of process. You're simply wiping it on and you're wiping it off. Very easy to apply, very forgiving, and it's a very durable, beautiful low luster shine finish.
My new hardware came in, and unfortunately the old hardware has this ring around it, and my new hardware won't cover it. It won't even really, if you can see, it won't even really cover the hole. So that's not gonna work. So, you know, furniture flipping is all about problem solving. So I do have a solution for that. So the solution is a washer. So I got a little washer and I spray painted it gold. And I'm going to put that over the hole, and then I will put my knob on top of that. So the next problem I had is the screws that came with it are way too long. I had 2 sets. I had this, and then I had a one that was like super small. So I'm gonna have to cut this down. And these are called breakaway screws. You can just, right there at the breaks, you can cut them. So you can use a variety of things. You could have 2 like pliers and break them. Honestly, I find my wire stripper to be the easiest for me. You'll see it says insert screw here. You just simply put your screw in where you want it to be cut. And I'm gonna go about here. So it might be too hard for some people because you gotta grip it. And then you just rotate it, kind of squeeze it again. And then you can hear it snap, and then you can just bring it right off. And so there it is. You can also put a nut on it before you cut it, and then thread the nut off, and that should also help you to make sure that the threads aren't stripped. So you see how that gold washer is covering up the problem area. And then I'm just going to line it all up. And there it is. I think it looks rather intentional, don't you? Very cool.
The last thing I like to do is I always make sure that I clean out my drawers. Again, with a 50-50 mixture of denatured alcohol and water, you can use whatever cleaner you want. Then I condition them with Danish oil. Before we get into the project breakdown, let's look back at the before. This little piece was in pretty good shape overall. It's an all wood piece, but that top needed the most help. And so it didn't need a full restoration, but after stripping the top and toning the sides, here is what we ended up with. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's a lovely, lovely tone. It sat in my dining room for a few days, and I was like, I always want to keep every piece. And I was like, okay, that's really beautiful. Sometimes it's nice to be able to customize the colors because honestly, sometimes you apply things to wood and they just work different with different woods too. So nutmeg is kind of my go-to as my toning. And then I love to also use the antique walnut. I really need to try the candlelight. I like to use that one as well. And then another one that I like is by Varathane, and it's called Hickory. So there's all kinds of different ones you can use, different brands. Minwax has a gel stain as well. I've just not used that particular one, but they are oil-based, but they provide such a rich, beautiful finishes. So now that I've walked you through the whole process of how to actually do a gentle restoration, let's talk a little bit about how to actually list your piece and what I actually made from this piece.
Now that I have my photographs, let's go ahead and walk through the process of how I list my piece. When I first started flipping, I only posted to Facebook Marketplace and my Facebook business page. I opened up a business page right away. Name yourself. You don't have to overthink it. Just give yourself a name, open up a page, open up a Gmail account in your business name. Doesn't have to be fancy. You can be a sole proprietor in the beginning. And so open that up. You can also reference to your business page on your Facebook listing. That way you just kind of start growing a local presence. So if you're not comfortable with crafting a listing, you can use AI. There's two AI tools I like to use, and that is Claude and just ChatGPT. So let me bring up ChatGPT first, and I will show you how I actually create a listing. Here's one I did, write an advertisement, and it said, introducing an age elegance of eras. So you just kind of have to go through and tweak it, but right here is where you can copy it. And then you can put it into a note, and that way you can kind of tweak it from there. So Claude is one of the ones that I like to use. So I'm just going to ask them, can you help me write a Facebook Marketplace listing optimized for SEO, which is search engine optimization, and keywords for a Dixie MCM, which is the acronym for mid-century modern nightstand, in a walnut finish. Actually, it's just one nightstand, so there we go. So sometimes people like very wordy things. I personally like things that are very, very to the point, bullet pointed. So here's what they came back with. So the title would be Authentic Dixie Mid-Century Modern Nightstand Walnut Finish MCM Table. So I like, I probably wouldn't use the word authentic in a Facebook Marketplace ad. I think I would just start with Dixie. But you can kind of go through here and say, okay, what are the key features, and kind of just tweak it the way you like it. So you may not like this, but here's the keywords down here, which it gives you, which is kind of cool. And so I do like, and they kind of tell you why they're doing what they're doing. So I do like that. Let me show you what I ended up going with. Okay, so here's what I did. Dixie MCM 3-drawer nightstand, end table, side table, accent table. So I'm trying to grab the keywords that people might be searching for. Make sure you fill out all of this area. The default finish is always mirrored, so make sure you put in what it is. I'm kind of more straight and to the point. I just said Dixie MCM nightstand. I have the features. I'm not going to say it's solid wood because it's veneer, and so it's all wood. 3 dovetail drawers, that matters, that function smoothly. Gently tapered, a new brushed brass hardware on the top drawer, 4 gently tapered legs. Make sure you always have the dimensions, and then I go ahead and reference my restoration process. I tell them exactly what I've done, and then I do reference here that you can find our work on Facebook and Instagram at Ivy Lane Interiors. That will help them find you, your business page, or if you have an Instagram page.
I think people pay more when they see your work and see that you're a professional. You're not just a quick flipper. This is actually something you do for a living. So here's my pictures. This is the first one, nothing staged on it. I try to do a few with no decorations. There's my maker's mark. You wanna make sure you have your maker's mark. All the drawers open, some side shots, beautiful top. And so this is kind of how I staged it. And then I actually did a video. I do like to include a video of all of the sides so they know what it looks like. And so make sure when you're editing that you turn off the sound on your video, because it will play if you have it on there. So make sure you mute it when you go to edit your pictures. So I listed this one for $200. Obviously it's hard to sell mid-century moderns single nightstands. And so I had an offer for $150 and I took it. So I think I could have gotten $175, maybe $200, but at the end of the day, I just went ahead and took it. So let's look at the price breakdown. It was kind of hard to determine exactly how much I paid for it because I paid $200 for a dresser and the nightstand. So she kind of like gave me the nightstand for free, but I'm gonna say I paid $40 for it, okay? And so the hardware was $8. I probably had another $10 maybe in supplies. So I'm in it for about $58, and then I sold it for $150. And so my profit's $92. Now that's obviously my net before taxes. And so I probably only spent about tops 2 hours on it. It really wasn't that laborious of a project. So if you break it down by how much I made per hour, that's still pushing, over $40 an hour, $46 an hour for my time. So again, you're not going to make a huge profit on nightstands, but it's a really good place to start. And because it's small, if you run into problems, they're easier to troubleshoot. You can imagine though, if you took this same technique and you applied it to a larger dresser, your profit margin is going to be a lot greater, because this is what I considered a gentle restoration. It's not a full restoration, it's a gentle restoration. And you can make good money on these flips. I've done a few larger dressers with the exact same technique as this, and I made a really good profit margin on them. These are the videos. I'll try to link at least one of them up in the card area. But you might consider this as a really good option. Some people are kind of scared at a full restoration. Well, you know what? Maybe it doesn't need it. Maybe mainly a lot of times it's the top that needs a lot of work. So I hope that would help. Maybe just stripping the top, toning the body, sealing it up, freshening up the hardware, and you've got a brand new looking dresser that you can sell for a really good profit. So I hope it helps. Please, in the comments, let me know if you have any questions about this technique, but I hope it helps. Gentle restoration, no power tools, easy flip, good profit margin if you have a bigger dresser. Try it and let me know what you think. Thanks so much for watching.